Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. And this time I want to talk about how to draw comics the Marvel way by Stan Lee and John Buscema. Of course, Stan wrote the text probably when John told him what to write, and John did all the original artwork and a lot of the example artwork in here. And for those who may not know, I've mentioned John Buscema several times before and talked more detail about his brother, but I'll get some background on John Buscema right now. Okay, this is Simon & Schuster published book from 1978. Okay, and John Buscema is from 1927 to 2002, and he was an American comic book artist and a creative force at Marvel Comics during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He is largely known for his run on The Avengers, The Silver Surfer, and over 200 sword and sorcery adventures featuring Conan the Barbarian. Also some with Call and the like, as well as a bunch of Tarzan. Said he had worked at one time or another on at least one issue of every major title which Marvel published during his tenure. He was born in Brooklyn, and he started drawing early, copying the comic strips. He was strongly influenced by the art in Tarzan, which is Hal Foster and Vern Hogarth, Flash Gordon, Alex Raymond, and Prince Valiant, Hal Foster again, on those comic strips, as well as Milton Caniff's Terry and the Pirates. Commercial artwork such as that of N.C. Wyeth, the Norman Rockwell, among others, were also influences. So he graduated from the High School of Music and Art and took classes at the Pratt Institute. And he did portraits of boxers while he was training to box. And he had cartoons published in the Hobo News. In 1948, he started in the comics field at pre-Marvel Timely Comics, where he first got published in Lawbreakers Always Lose, number 3 in 1948. And he never looked back. He was one of the most prolific and most imitated and most beloved of Marvel's artists. And I don't know if I've ever seen him do anything for anybody else other than, like, I think he drew one or more of the crossover Marvel DC crossover books, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But he was good. He was good. As you can see here, he was good. And as I said, much imitated. This is probably one of the reasons right here why he was much imitated. But after Kirby's big boom from the 60s and early 70s, when John Buscema's style kind of became the mainstay instead of Kirby's. It was very bold, dramatic, and dynamic, almost as much as Kirby's, but his anatomy was much better and more realistic. Okay, let's take a little look in here. Okay, you can see he probably just sat there and drew and looked at his hand and drew his hand while he was drawing that cover. And getting started right off the bat, has all these illustrations in here, and the tools and talk of the trade. It shows illustrations of some of the regular tools needed to draw. And here you'll learn some of the lingo, like splash page and open letters, and some of those thought balloons, dialogue balloons, and bold lettering and stuff. And then he has examples of some of the things here, like, you get close-ups and medium shots and extreme close-ups and bird's eye views and the like. And then the secrets of the form. And this is just some basic drawing instructions, which you could get in a variety of books. And this is briefly just covering the basics, how things in the world around us are just composed of some basic shapes: squares, cylinders, circles, and the like. How to briefly draw a gun or a car from just some simple shapes, aircraft, and then you get to what everyone likes, is the figure. But the figure alone doesn't do it. You've got to be able to do the other stuff as well. There's some, a little bit of shading for modeling, for three-dimensional stuff, and then show some examples of how just mostly his own or Kirby's work in these examples here, a few others, how to draw the basic shapes that go in to compose these particular images. Perspective. Now this is something a lot of people really need work on, and is linear perspective. There's Ariel's perspective and linear perspective, and how things look right in 3 dimensions, especially like buildings and the like. And unfortunately, I didn't learn much about perspective until I was in college, but this was a help. See how have vanishing points on your eye level, no matter whether you're standing or sitting or laying on the ground, and how parallel lines converge at a vanishing point. It's kind of like railroad tracks. You stand in the middle of railroad tracks and just look down the track. There's perspective up and perspective down, and inside rooms and the like. Even perspective on doing a wheel. And then some examples of perspective in use in the comics. And then we get into doing the figure a little bit. That's a great Captain America there. Chapter 4, very dynamic. And here's some really basic stuff. How tall a normal figure is. This is, and you usually make them for comics and other things. You don't make the figure look quite like it does in reality. It just looks better that way. Most people are about 5 or 6 heads tall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, 8. He did 8. He made them really tall. Because normally it's about 6 to 7 heads tall. See? And in comparison of the dynamic and the superheroic figure, like these two figures are standing basically the same way. Well, you get the like Captain America, who's bulkier, and the way his weight is distributed and his head is leaning forward, and he just seems more powerful than this other figure. And how drama and stuff play into this stuff, because you can see, you look at Dr. Doom here like that, and it's realistic, but it's not very as visually interesting as this version of Dr. Doom in basically the same position. You kind of push it a little bit. You push the drama and the action. Great Thor. And here shows some more basic drawings on drawing the figure. Just a basic stick figure, doing a variety of poses, and then how to start flushing them out into the figure, and then various poses. Oh, it's some really cool stuff. And then there's another technique. This is a gesture. This is the way I like to work. Just a real loose, scribbly line, and you start building up on that figure to build your complete figure. And I know this is the way John himself preferred to work, and I like that, to do it that way too. I just kind of scribble and build up your figure and try to go for the more power and drama and how the figure should look, and some ways to indicate how, these poses before you start doing a completed drawing. How to do an action. See, that's how the powerful Power Man's figure looks in a pose like that. Spidey, and more examples, and he shows how you draw the figures as they have appeared. You start your figures as they've appeared in these example drawings. Nick Fury. And then you get foreshortening, how things look in three dimensions, which was covered a lot in that Bern Hogarth Dynamic Anatomy book I did that other time. And there are books with photo reference specifically for that stuff, figures in a variety of poses and actions and gestures. See, that's extreme foreshortening. Oh, here's some Gene Colan. Most of this stuff has been Kirby or Buscema. This is some Gene Colan stuff. Well, maybe not. Oh well, it doesn't matter at this point. Then drawing the head. There's a very dramatic, extreme close-up of this figure. This guy's head. Just some basic drawing techniques. Let's see how they showed up. A variety of shapes of heads, and how you kind of exaggerate and almost caricature on some of them to do it, including the women. How to do women's faces, women profile, different expressions. It covers the whole gamut. Composition, how stuff works in a composition inside the panel. Heads for drama, and how your solid blacks are placed. Here's some comparisons of the same page. It's done like this, which is adequate, but not very dramatic or dynamic. And you see the exact same page done this way, and it is much more entertaining, eye-catching, and dramatic. Again, you can really compare these two. And this page is more visually interesting. Conveys the exact same information, but is more visually interesting. And yada yada. More of the same. Comic book covers. How to do the covers. There's a shading. The covers inking. The art of inking. How to place your solid blacks. And techniques. Brush and ink. See some of the different effects you can do and use. This is how I learned how to rule a straight line with a brush, and it works with some pens too. And how it looks differently. This one's kind of cluttered. The same illustration, but overwork it, and it gets cluttered looking like this. And it's much better looking like this, or underwork it like this, and it's underdone. And doesn't look nearly as well either. Just all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, there's books bibliography to check out. And one of the books in this bibliography is Bern Hogarth's Drawing the Human Head and Dynamic Anatomy, which is a book that we looked at before. And so that is that. Here's some pandemonious puffery from the publisher. Oh, you know Stan wrote that. And this is, of course, this is a hardback book. I also have it in paperback, a soft cover, same size. And it's a pretty good book. Some very basic how to draw stuff, from the figure to just a little bit of everything. And that's all it is, just a little bit of everything. But it's a good starting point for someone. If that is, I'm sure this book is still available. I don't know if it's been, how many times it's been reprinted, and it's undoubtedly collectible now as well. So it might be out, the price might be out of one's reach for something as practical as this. They used to find them in the libraries. So it's just an all around good how to draw book. And I want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. And remember, as this proves, comics are art.